Konnichiwa! Welcome to my final video of my Volcano series. This one is a trip back to Nikko, which I made a whole video about a few months ago, but I didn't realise at the time it was actually it's actually a volcano. The lake, the giant lake that I saw with a sort of quite a visible peak next to it that's Mount Nantai. So today's video is about Mount Nantai next to Lake Chuzenjiko, which I went to a couple of weeks ago with my mum. Here you go. I don't know if you can hear me or out on the wind, but just driven out with my mother, who's over there having a bit of a de-stress from the drive. She doesn't like driving along mountains. Just had a drive up to a place called Nikko, which I didn't realise at the time, but there's this big mountain here, as you can see, Nantai. I noticed it like quite prominent before, but I didn't know it was actually a volcano. So this is yet another mountaintop lakey volcano-y thing. I apologise for the amount of noise. Obviously it's terribly windy up here, so I'm trying to catch as much of the audio dialogue that I gave at the time as I can, but maybe I'll have to narrate for you as well.
Had a nice time. Lovely. You took a picture of that.
What about it?
That road is
A shelf? What do you mean?
It's a shelf hanging off the side of the road, which is a road. And then on that corner, it's like a roller coaster. Sticking out over the edge.
Are you looking forward to that one?
No.
If I drive really fast, it'll be over quicker.
We've got to come back down as well.
Yeah, it's a dead end.
Yeah. Let's just stop here.
There's some sort of observatory up there though, we need to go and see what it is. On the map it says there's an observatory up there, so we need to go and have a look.
Will you drive really slowly?
Yeah, okay, drive really slowly. So that there is the peak of Mount Nantai. We drove on a little bit further to see this nice view across the mountains. This is really high up in the mountains, this area. Nikko is quite a difficult place to reach, kind of. You have to go along some windy mountainy roads, which my mum wasn't too keen on, as she mentioned just now. Apparently Mount Nantai is possibly going to be reclassified as an active volcano because there's evidence that it erupted 7,000 years ago, which is apparently enough to make it active. So, let me just find Japan. There we are. This is Japan. All the volcanoes I've looked at so far have been in the same region of Japan here. The most active volcanoes in Japan are all on this island here, which has recently had a really serious earthquake. But all the volcanoes I've visited are in this area. The only particularly active one that I know of is Asama here, which I visited. The rest of them are not erupted for a long time. Places like Akagi here and Fuji here, and today's volcano, Hakone is here, which I looked at to Fuji from. Today's volcano is up here in the mountains to the northeast of Gunma, where I live. So this is Lake Chuzenjiko, and this is Mount Nantai. I consider it a dormant volcano, although apparently because it erupted 7,000 years ago it might be an active volcano instead. So I recorded my little vlog from here, across the lake and the mountain. We drove past that, along this precarious road that my mum wasn't too chuffed about, to this so-called observation platform here, where I recorded a little bit of video across the mountains, over there. It's a very beautiful place, highly recommend it. One thing I've learned about volcanoes is that they tend to be very picturesque, beautiful places. Not very dangerous. Maybe if you visit active volcanoes it's a different story. So our next stop is going to be this massive lake. Apparently all of that drains through a single waterfall around here. I think it's this one here. So this is quite a popular little spot to come to and have a look at. There's a massive waterfall here which, like I said, apparently this entire lake drains through. I don't know if that's true or not. There seems to be a couple of waterfalls around here, but it definitely was a pretty decent thing to look at. But the thing is, to get to see it, you have to come here and then go down an elevator. You go down an elevator all the way down through the mountain, about 100 metres or something, until you can come out here to this observation platform and get a really good view of it. So let's see what we can find. Yeah. It's not a tiny waterfall though, is it?
No, it's not tiny at all.
Blinking gigantic. Takes one, isn't it?
まもなく到着します。足元に気をつけていってらっしゃいませ。ドアが開きます。
Well, that entire lake on the top of, well, next to Mount Nantai in Nikko, empties through one waterfall apparently, and this is that waterfall. I don't know if you can see it because of the sun glare. The sun's right over it. But there's this immense waterfall. It's really nice. It's actually spraying up here actually. But this is called Kegon waterfall. It's very cool. There's lots of people looking at it. And on the other side, well, I don't know, if that one's the one that empties the whole of the lake, I don't know what that one is. So that was Kegon Fall, the waterfall that apparently drains the entirety of Lake Chuzenjiko. Next up we went off to, well, we went back home basically through another route through all the mountains, but we went past a little lake just north of Chuzenjiko, which for some reason is incredibly windy compared to Chuzenjiko. And I actually went there last February when I came to Nikko, and it looks rather different now than it did when I came back in winter. For some reason it's totally windy on this bit. I came here in like February or something, and this lake was completely frozen. There was people walking all over it. There was a group of like scientists or something in scuba gear walking on the ice. That was in my video on Nikko before. And now it's all melted, but it's still windy. Last time it was windy and really, really, really cold. Today it's just windy, but still windy. So that's the end of my video series of volcanoes in Japan for now. Maybe I'll go and see some more down here on Kyushu sometime in the future. That'll be fun. They look really cool. Down here they've got some really super active volcanoes, like this one here. The most active volcanoes in all of Japan are in this island. This island is, I guess, much more geologically active than the main island. It's had a really serious earthquake recently. It's got all these crazy volcanoes going on, like properly active smoky volcanoes. But this is really far from where I live. I'd have to get a plane down here to come here, which maybe I'll do in the future. But for now I've stuck to around Gunma and the local area of Japan where I live. It's kind of cool. I think it's called Kanto, this area, which if you know your Pokemon, the first Pokemon game was called Kanto. The first Pokemon game was set in a region called Kanto, which is based on this region of Japan actually. So Akagi itself, this volcano that I went that's near where I live, is actually a location in the first Pokemon games. It was Mount Moon. If you've played Pokemon Red or Blue, it was called Mount Moon in Pokemon Red and Blue. It was based on this volcano, this mountain. Well, it is a volcano. So yeah, here are the volcanoes I've been to. I tried to go to Osama back in the winter, but it was way too snowy and had to return later on. I went to Akagi. I took my mum from Tokyo down here to Hakone where we saw Fuji. Then we drove around Fuji and got an absolutely poor view of it. Then we went up back to my home, and then at some point later on, a couple of days later, we went up towards Nikko where Nantai is, Mount Nantai, and the big lake, Chuzenjiko, today's video. I've been to another volcano around here somewhere called Haruna actually, but I didn't know it was a volcano and I wasn't doing a video series at the time, so I didn't record it. So I've actually been to a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 volcanoes in Japan, which is pretty decent. When I first came to Japan, I remember asking one of my students, like, just out of curiosity, are there any volcanoes in Japan? Thinking that maybe there wouldn't be. Little did I know, ignorant much, there are tons of volcanoes in Japan. So just in my local area, there are 6 very interesting and famous volcanoes within Japan. Akagi is quite a famous spiritual place. Nantai is also quite a significant place of spirituality in Japan. Obviously Fuji is well known, and Hakone is a well known spot for looking at Fuji. Asama is the most active volcano in all of Honshu, which is this island here. So barring Kyushu's volcanoes, Asama is probably the most active volcano in all of Japan. So yeah, obviously they're interesting places. I'm glad to have been able to visit them. I hope you've enjoyed watching these videos. I've certainly enjoyed making them and recording them especially. Editing them has taken a lot of time, but I've learned a lot about editing in the process. So I hope you've, well, even if you haven't enjoyed watching them, and even if no one's actually watched them, at least I've had some fun making them. My next video will be back to normal, random stuff in Japan. Not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet. If you've got any ideas what you want me to do, any ideas what you want to know about in Japan, just let me know. I need to do part 2 of my hiragana reading and writing Japanese at some point. Yeah, so leave me a comment if you've got an idea what sort of video you want me to do, what you want to know about Japan, what you'd like to see, and I'll see about getting on that. I hope everyone's alright in England. Thank you to everyone who has been commenting on my videos, I appreciate it. It's nice to hear from you all. This is me signing out. Sayonara!